Dr. Parikh, am I saying that right?
You are.
Thank you. Do you know anybody who's against biomedical research?
I do not know anybody that's against biomedical research, but I know some.
That's like being against children, isn't it?
It is.
It's like being against world peace, isn't it?
It is.
It's like being against golden retrievers, isn't it?
There's some people that argue there.
Okay. Well, let's get that out of the way. I want to ask you about NIH. I love NIH. I think they do extraordinary work.
Yes, sir.
But isn't it a fact if NIH assigns way too much money for overhead, that money comes out of the basic research? Isn't that the case?
Senator, both those things are providing funds for research. And I agree with you that we need to make the administrative burden and the costs associated with it as low as possible, because we do want as much to go to
Well, why
research.
can't NIH live with 15% overhead?
Yeah. Senator, we have had a partnership that's been going on for 75 years in this country.
Yes, sir, but why can't NIH live with 15% overhead?
At this point, what that would do is actually turn institutions like the ones we've heard about here, it would actually make it to where they are laying off researchers and the support folks who are
Well, the
supporting
Gates
that work.
Foundation, when they make grants, they limit overhead to 10%, don't they?
They do, sir, but that is apples to oranges because they count different things.
And the
in
Roberts
overhead.
Woods Johnson Foundation limits overhead to 12%, don't they?
They do. Again, apples to oranges because they count different things.
Isn't it a fact that the universities that receive the most money from NIH also have the biggest endowments?
I haven't checked that, but it probably is true, Senator. And I agree with you. There are challenges that we need to work
Well,
on.
let's take Harvard. 69 cents out of every dollar from NIH given to Harvard goes to overhead.
No, sir, it's 69 cents out of every $1.69. It's on top of, it's not within.
Okay. Which is 1.6. Let me ask you about one of the worst abuses I've ever seen. It was at Stanford.
Yes, sir.
Stanford was spending 74% of grants from NIH on overhead. Remember that?
I do, although I was in high school at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is your taxpayer money funding yachts and luxury homes instead of life-saving research? In this explosive hearing, Senator John Kennedy confronts Dr. Parikh about how NIH research grants are really being spent. From shocking overhead costs to sailboats funded by science grants, this is a video you can't afford to miss. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a fiery Senate hearing, where Senator John Kennedy takes on the National Institutes of Health and the universities that receive billions in taxpayer funding. What you're about to hear will shock you. Sailboats, shopping centers, and luxury home renovations. All allegedly funded by money meant for scientific research. Let's break it down. The conversation starts lightly, but quickly shifts gears. Senator Kennedy cuts through the pleasantries to get to the heart of the issue. Why is so much NIH grant money going toward overhead, and not to the labs, doctors, and researchers working on medical breakthroughs? NIH says lowering overhead could lead to layoffs and underfunded support staff. But Kennedy fires back, pointing out that the Gates Foundation limits overhead to 10%, and Robert Wood Johnson Foundation caps it at 12%. So why are taxpayers footing the bill for 30 to 40% overhead at some of the wealthiest universities in the country? And here comes the bombshell. Stanford University, one of the top NIH grant recipients, was found spending 74% of grants on overhead back in the day.
They found that Stanford was spending some of that money that was supposed to go to research, ladies and gentlemen, to renovate the president's home.
Yes, sir.
Didn't they?
I believe so, Senator. Again.
And to renovate the vice provost's home, too, didn't they?
I believe you when you say that. Yes.
And they also charged, Stanford took NIH research money to help children and applied it to depreciation on a Stanford yacht, didn't they?
Yes, sir. Again, when I was in high school, sir.
Now, does NIH audit every year the way these grants are being spent?
They don't audit every year. There's a process for
So
determining.
they just trust the
Kennedy claims that money meant for children's health research was spent on renovating university executives' homes, pre-depreciation costs for a yacht, and salaries at a university-owned shopping center. Let that sink in. Kennedy hits a key point. NIH doesn't audit spending every year. Grants can last up to 5 years, and during that time, there's potential for misuse. He asks the question we're all thinking. Kennedy, what if the universities lie? When every dollar matters, oversight isn't optional. It's essential. If you're finding this eye-opening, hit that subscribe button right now. We break down stories that others won't touch. Don't miss out on future videos. Senator Kennedy brings it back to what really matters. Every misused dollar is a dollar not spent on curing disease, on innovating medicine, or saving lives. And asking tough questions isn't anti-science. It's pro-accountability. That child in the hearing room, she deserves better. We all do. So, what do you think? Should universities face stricter rules on how they spend research money? Drop a comment below. Smash that like button if you care about transparency. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss a deep dive like this one. Thanks for watching.